What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a review of Lot 235 over at Hakes. And for those of you who were watching and bidding, I hope that you were able to pick up some good items, because I think my prediction from about a month ago in a video has proven true, that we have hit the peak, at least the near-term peak, in collectibles prices. The prices were, for the most part, very disappointing from the Hakes auction results. And really, I mean, you're going to be just blown away by some of these numbers. And I'm not trying to say that these items are cheap, okay? Because they're not. There's some really, really expensive items. But when you compare them to the last auction at Hakes and the Lot 234 auction from about in May, it's pretty eye-opening how much the prices have dropped. So I think it's further proof that even the upper end of the market, the top of the top collectors out there, are feeling the effects of this recession that's here, in my opinion. And I want to go ahead and dig right into some really awesome items. As you can see just in the thumbnail for this video, we've got an early bird kit. We've got a rocket-firing Boba Fett prototype. We've got a 21-back AFA 85 Boba Fett. We got special action figures, the 3-pack sets. There's several of those that sold. A double telescoping Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, just incredible, incredible items. And some of the prices were really good. Some of them were not at all, and were really surprising. I'm going to divide this coverage into two parts. First, we're going to take a look at early Star Wars stuff and some of the pre-production, like the Fett. And then I'm going to cover some Empire Strikes Back, Power of the Force, Return of the Jedi type items in a second video, hopefully this weekend. We'll see if I get time. Work is killing me right now, folks. Let's go ahead and dig right in. We've got an AFA, this is an AFA 85 early bird kit, and has the double telescoping Luke in it. So this is one of the most desirable items out there, an AFA 85. It only sold for $11,162. And for all of these items, I want to highlight, you know, as you're looking at them, the value code, as you can see right here. Hakes comes up with an estimate, and admittedly on this item, it was pretty broad. But for the most part, when you start looking at the winning bid, which is up here, versus the value code, most of the items really came in below estimates or at the very bottom of the value code. And also keep in mind that this winning bid number for all of these items includes the 18% buyer's premium that you have to pay. So whatever you bid on Hakes, you also have to pay 18% on top of that. So all of the winning totals that I'm going to share in this video include that 18%. It does not include the packing and shipping costs, but it's not that bad, really. I bought a couple items in that last Hakes auction, and the shipping costs were not very expensive at all. So very, very impressed with how Hakes handles their work. And these kind of prices are no reflection on Hakes, in my opinion. It's a reflection on the market. It's absolutely a reflection on the market. So this one came in at $11,162, which is at the very bottom of the value code. I was expecting, quite honestly, around $18,000 for this item. I've seen a number of examples that were lower grade that have sold for this number or more on the Facebook groups. So for an AFA 85 with the double telescoping saber Luke, that's a pretty good price, believe it or not, for those of you who don't shop in this kind of price range, and myself included. This one was a beautiful item. This one was an AFA 90 plus double telescoping Luke Skywalker. So a farm boy Luke, and the value code on this one was between $10,000 and $20,000. I talked to several collectors who were looking at this item, and when the auction started, they were expecting this to sell for $12,000 to $15,000. That was their estimate in their mind. With the buyer's premium, it sold for $5,900. $5,900. And, you know, we've talked about an AFA 85 double telescoping Luke that sold for almost $4,000, and to get a 90 plus, this is probably one of one. There's probably not many out there like this, if at all. And to get this for $5,900, again, we're talking big boy money. These are high-end collectors that are buying this kind of stuff. But that is a massive price drop versus what the expectations were. And I know the gentleman who ended up getting this one. He threw in a very low bid early on just to kind of watch it. And he didn't think he'd win it. He forgot about it, quite honestly. And then he got the email saying, "Hey, you won it." And he couldn't believe it. He said he was expecting it to sell for over double what his bid was. And he said to win this at that price was just amazing. Next up, we had a double telescoping Darth Vader. And this one was an AFA 90 as well, just a massive number. It came in right at the middle of the value code. It came in at $14,000, 14,161. The value code was 10 to 20,000. But again, you're talking about a double telescoping AFA 90 Vader. And I was expecting closer to 18 to 20 at a minimum. I wouldn't have been surprised if it had sold for 25. And I think, if some of these auctions had taken place back during the absolute peak of the prices for collectibles, you can easily double some of these numbers. I don't think you can double this one. This one, I think 14,161, that winning bid, this had been, back in May when this one had sold. I bet it would have been over $20,000 though. Next up, we had the Obi-Wan Kenobi double telescoping saber. This also was an AFA 90. So truly a holy grail among collectors. The value code was 10 to 20. It came in at 27,258. And quite honestly, I think that value code was way low, way low. There was an AFA 80 plus that sold several years ago at $28,000. So to get for the same price, or less, it came in less than the one that sold on Facebook for $28,000. That was an AFA 80 plus. To get an AFA 90 for less than that now, given the run up we've had in collectibles, it just shows you how far the market has fallen. And I think that these items, these AFA 90s and 90 pluses, what does that tell you as a collector? Well, typically those AFA 90s can sell for a multiple sometimes of what AFA 80s and 85 sell for. And when the market tanks, like it has clearly, there is concern that when you ever go to sell these types of items, that you may not get your money back. And the top end of the market clearly has taken a massive hit. And, it's just a warning sign that you got to be careful with those really high grade items, because the buyer pool for those types of items is much smaller. Next up, we had an AFA 75 mint on card, 12-back C, double telescoping Luke. Again, a very rare item. The value code was 20 to 35,000. It came in at 13,111. So well below what Hakes was expecting it to sell for. Well below what I was expecting. I was expecting kind of 15 to 18 at a minimum. I was thinking really more like 20 to 25. And for it, 13 is very low relative to past sales. Here was an AFA 80 yellowed blister double telescoping Luke. The value code on that was $20 to $35,000. That sold for $16,225. So again, another example of a sale that came in below estimates. Here was a Palatoy C3PO 12-back B AFA 80. The value code on that was $1 to $2,000. It came in at the very low end of that range of $11.61. That was a great deal, by the way. Whoever got that one, that was a beautiful unpunched Palatoy C3PO, just absolutely gorgeous AFA 80. And to get that for $11.61, that's a pretty good bargain in my mind. Next up, we had a couple of point of sale displays, and I thought that the prices on all of these were pretty strong, although they still came in below estimates on some of them. This was a 12-back action figure display header with the bin. It was all encapsulated, as you can see, by AFA. So this was a really big item, a really big one. Again, it was an AFA 80. It came, the final sales price was $35.69. And the value code on that was 5 to 10. So even that one came in below estimates, although that was a beautiful item. All right. I think we waited long enough. We need to talk about this Rocket-Firing Fett. AFA 85 L slot Boba Fett rocket-firing prototype. And, a couple of data points from past auctions. March 2022 was an AFA 50 J slot. That sold for $204 and change. An AFA 85 L slot sold for $86,000 and change in March 2018. 112.9 in July of 2019, 165,200 in June of 2021. Most recently, the AFA 80 Plus example sold for $236,000. This is back in June, so a couple of months ago, 1 month ago, in their special auction figure event. So $236 for an AFA 80 Plus example. This one was an AFA 85 L slot. That one sold for $136,290. That is a massive price drop. The value code on that was between $200 and $350. It came in at $136,290. So Clearly, the upper end of the market is scared off by current economic events, because that is a much bigger drop and a much lower price than what a lot of collectors were expecting. Here was a vinyl cape Jawa 12-back A, vinyl cape mint on card AFA 85. It came in at $29,854 was the final sales price. Again, the value code on that one was 35 to 50. I think honestly that value code was too high. I was expecting around 25 to maybe 30 at the top end, so it kind of came in around expectations for me. 35 to 50 was way too high in my opinion, but it was an AFA 85. So again, there's not many of these out there, and a couple of other data points. There's one that sold for $36,285. That was an AFA 75. There was an AFA 80 that sold for $40,887. So this is a higher grade, and it came in about, let's call that about $11,000 less. So you got a higher grade item than the one that sold in June of 2022, and you paid $11,000 less. So clearly we've hit peak prices, in my opinion, and we're coming back down now. And is this a blip on the radar? Or is this the sign of things to come? And me personally, I think it's a sign of things to come. I believe that Hakes has an auction coming in September. That'll be a real telltale sign to see how auction prices do relative to this one. But I personally think that we're going to see lower prices again in the September auction, because things are going to get worse, in my opinion, rather than better on a macroeconomic scale. So who knows? We'll see what happens. This one was a really cool item, and an item I had never seen before ever. This was a dangler. So these hung off of the edge of point of sales, and it had the Jawa, the Tusken Raider, and the Death Squad Commander, 3 new action figures, collect all 12. So this was a very early dangler, and this is the first time I've ever seen one. It was graded AFA 85. And again, when you have something rare, people are going to bid up for it, and it blew past the value code of $2,000 to $5,000. The final sales price was $13,098. So there are some signs of life, and again, this is extremely rare. Again, I've never seen this before ever in any kind of condition, and to get one in an AFA 85 is really interesting to see. Here was one of these Collect All 21 Bell displays, AFA 85 plus, and it came in towards the bottom end of the value code of $5,000 to $10,000. The winning bid was $6,142, and it had also included the original cardboard box that was shipped to retailers. You would open it up and you would have this big Bell display. So that was really cool to see that it came with the original box. Look how clean that box is. I mean, this is like a time capsule. It looks like it's straight from 1978 or whenever this was made, 1978 or 1979, I believe. Let's see, 1979. So I mean, that box looks like it's brand new. It's unbelievable. Somebody had this and just, I guess, stored it away. Next up, we had a 20-back G R5D4 AFA 80. This was one I actually did bid on, but I ended up, not being able to win it. It sold for $1,213. I thought that was a pretty good price, all considering for a 20-back G. Now you compare that to the AFA 85, exact same card back, in just a slightly higher grade, and that one sold for $25.97. So you could have got the AFA 80 for $12.13. or paid $25.97 for the AFA 85. So it just shows you that there's still demand for ultra high grade items. And speaking of high grade beauties, this was a Red Bar R5D4 mint on card, Collector Archive Services 85 plus. Just an absolute beauty. It came in at the very bottom of the value code at $4,997. But what an awesome item to get a Red Bar R5D4 mint on card. That's incredible. Next up, we had an AFA 85 21-back Boba Fett, extremely high grade. It also came in towards the lower end of the value code, $23,558. Took that one home, but that is a gorgeous example. AFA 85 21-back Boba Fett. I mean, I can't believe there's many of these out there, but what an incredible item. Next up, I did pull up all of these special action figure sets that sold. This was an AFA 85 villain set. That sold for $15,134, right in the middle of the value code, but that's a truly incredible item. And here was the droid set, and this was an AFA 85. That sold for $12,007 towards the bottom range of the value code, but the Android set included C-3PO, R2-D2, and for some reason, Chewbacca. But two AFA 85 special action figure sets. And then next up, this one I thought that the value code was too high. This was an AFA 85 droid set. The value code on this one was $5,000 to $10,000. I think that price was way too low because this is one of the tougher ones to find in very high grade. And it also had the special offer sticker in the upper right-hand corner. This one includes the Death Star droid, the R5-D4, and the Power droid. This would be like one of my holy grails. I would love to have this item because the Death Star droid and R5-D4 are two of my favorite droids. And that's a really incredible item. That sold for $12,136. So again, it was above the value code, but I think the value code was too low. I think the value code should have been between 10 and 15 for something that high grade and that rare, especially with that, just gorgeous unpunched, or it looks like it might have been partially punched. It looks like it was partially unpunched. The front was not punched, but it looks like the back piece had kind of fallen off. But wow, just some incredible items overall. I'm not trying to say that these prices are not eye-popping, but relative to past auctions, these prices are way down, and we'll see some more affordable items in the next video whenever I get a chance to cover those. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.